All right. Hello there, everybody out there in Radio Land. And all of you guys watching on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, X, or wherever else you're listening to us on. This is The Divide with Marcus C. Williams. Thank you for tuning in today. Man, have we got a great show and a lot of things to go over. But first, I'd like to let you know you're listening to The Divide on WRFZ 106.3 Rochester Free Radio. And if you're listening to us online, make sure that you like and you share so that other people can hear what's going on. Now, if you guys would like to advertise with the show, please reach out to me online. You can reach out to me by any of the platforms online, or you can send me an email, marcuswilliams222 at outlook.com. That's marcuswilliams222 at outlook.com if you want to sponsor the show. And make sure you like and subscribe. Now, let's jump into it. Boy, every week it seems like more and more interesting things seem to be happening. And I guess it depends on what you consider to be interesting, right? Is interesting good? Is interesting bad? Is interesting just something out of the ordinary? So here in Rochester, New York, we've had a lot of crazy stuff go on. Here in New York State, we've had a lot of crazy stuff go on. Here in the United States of America, we've had a lot of crazy stuff go on. All across the world, a lot of crazy stuff. Now, at some point, you start to wonder, is it you that's crazy or is it the world that's gone crazy? I'd say that it's probably neither. It's the people who are really at the top of the pyramid that are in the elite positions that are either in the financial elite or the political elite that are really behind the scenes manipulating everything to drive everything in the world kind of crazy to keep you guessing every second of your life, every second of the day. Because why not? There's this quote from this show, I forget what show it was, but it was like an animated cartoon or something like that. It might have been an anime, actually. But the quote goes, and this was a villain that said this, it said, it's easy to take people's meager possessions when they're filled with terror. And isn't that a great example of exactly what's going on today? Every day you turn on the TV or you're on social media and everything's filled with so much negativity, craziness, chaoticness, hecticness, or reasons why you should dislike your neighbor or dislike somebody else, or you should turn against your friends, or you should turn your own family in for having a Thanksgiving dinner with too many people at it because you heard on the news that if too many people are at somebody's house at Thanksgiving or Christmas, you should call the police on them. This is what we're living through in our daily lives right now, today, on a daily basis. And you have to start to ask yourself and you have to start to question, why is that? Has it always been that way? When exactly did this start happening? And for a long time, I was a little kid, like I was not out of high school or anything like that, or even out of middle school. So a large portion of my life thus far, I wasn't really aware of politics. When I started to get aware of politics, things seemed to be what I thought that was going on in the world was what was going on in the world. But since I started to understand and look and pay more attention to the news year after year, stuff has gotten more and more and more crazy. And it really started to speed up right after COVID. Like accelerate beyond what anybody could think. And it has gone absolutely insane since then. We are on the verge of World War III. We are on the verge of a possible civil dissolution of our dissolution, okay, of our nation, in which we break into different factions and states and stuff like that, states being a country. And it just seems to me like everything is very precarious. Are you guys feeling the same type of way? You turn on the TV, be afraid the climate's going to kill you. You turn on the TV, be afraid whatever new disease is going to kill you. You turn on the TV, be afraid the criminals are going to kill you. You turn on the TV, you can't eat meat because the meat's going to kill you. You turn on the TV, be afraid of the rain because the rain is going to kill you. And geez Louise, you can't even breathe the air right now because the air will kill you. I mean, how many new ways do we have to be scared of literally everything? Don't put on shoes because shoes stop you from being able to ground to the earth. It's going to kill you. I mean, at this point, what's not going to kill you is the better question. And the news and social media and everything would like to have you believe that everything will kill you. So if everything will kill you, why would you want to fight for the future? Why would you want to fight for a better future? Why would you want to have any faith and reason to be happy that there might be a better future coming later on? And that's exactly what they want. That's what the people at the very, very top want. They want you to be completely in despair. There's this great anime, and I can't remember what it's called right now. You'll have to go look it up. It's something with a Z. It's like Mr. Sorrow or Mr. Despair is like what the guy's name is, and everything is like very dramatic, right, with this guy, and everything is he's immediately in despair about everything. Everything is crushing him. The weight of the world is crushing him, and somehow he still always seems to move forward and succeed. It's a very interesting show. I'll have to figure out what the name of it is, and I'll have to get back to you at it. But here's the interesting thing as far as that goes. They want us in despair. What is despair except the lack of hope for a brighter tomorrow and a better future? And we all deserve a brighter tomorrow and a better future. But they're trying to steal that concept away from us. And that's not okay. We deserve to have a real reason to believe that there is a brighter future that we can see forward ahead, that it is not the end of the world, that there is positivity in the world, that we can overcome, that we are able to succeed, that we can make this future for our children better than what we have experienced in our lifetime. Many of you that are older than me may be like, oh, well, the 90s, the 80s, the 70s, the 50s, whatever, was a much better time. It was much less to worry about and stuff like that. And a large amount of those feelings are honestly kind of valid. While each generation and period and of decades previous to the one that we're in now, there was all really kind of a reason to have hope, to have faith. And that has been stolen away from the millennials, from Gen Z, not from Gen Z, but from what is it? Yeah, Gen Z. Yep, Gen Z. That's what I meant. Gen Z and Gen Alpha. So it's just been completely stolen. There is no hope for the future. That's why you see these memes on TikTok, not memes, but videos on TikTok or Instagram or whatever. I don't use TikTok. TikTok's a Chinese manipulation machine. I really am not a fan of it. We've talked about that before on the show. But anyway, you see these videos of these Gen Zers, and they're out, or even millennials, right? They're out and they're going into the workforce and stuff like that, and they're like, we really need a union because I work at Starbucks making coffee, and they put me on the schedule for 5 hours today. Oh. And you're like, what? 5 hours, that's it? And you're crying and you're frustrated and you're all about that. Now, many people will say, well, that's because they don't have a good work ethic, or that's because they're not able to understand what work is. Okay, that's fair. Well, then whose fault is that? Whose fault is it that they don't have a good work ethic? Whose fault is it that they don't know what work is? Because the millennial generation, Gen Z and Gen Alpha, have all been told that they're soft little sparkling snowflakes and that everything should be handed to them on a shiny platter, and they can do whatever they want and they can be whatever they want. And if they want to be a gremlin, they can identify as a gremlin now. You can have gremlin pronouns. Like, that's not a joke. That is a real thing. You can have gremlin pronouns. And I promise I'm going to do my best for the rest of the show not to go off of YouTube or any other thing, because we're going to dig into some very serious topics today once I really start ramping up here. So you look at Gen Z and the millennials, and you wonder why they've all just basically given up. A lot of millennials are still at home with their family. They're living with their family. Now, traditionally in other countries, that is a normal thing. If you look back a couple of decades, I'd say probably pre-50s, that was also a thing in America, where you'd stay with your family longer, but part of the American dream is you hit 18, you go out on your own, you live on your own, you end up buying a house, you work, and you live your life, you know? So get married, have kids, all of that stuff. But that's not even conceptually legitimate anymore with the way that housing prices are. Rent prices through the roof. Buying a home it's out of the question for most millennials right now. They look at the housing economy, they look at the price of the market, they look at the prices of these homes, not to mention interest rates. And they're like, how could I ever live on my own without a roommate? Or how could I live outside of my parents' home? Or what could I possibly do? You know, I'm already working 2-3 jobs and I'm barely making ends meet just to live in my apartment. But you've got people out here that are spending $1,500 a month for an apartment, but they can't get a loan to buy a home for $200,000. Now, here's a crazy thing. If you did that, it'd be roughly about the same. But if you're paying rent consistently, you can't get a loan to get a house. Somebody explain to me how that makes sense in what's going on in our nation. That should not be that way. What do you call it? Bernie Mae. Oh, wow. I'm combining both of the names. Freddie Mac and Fernie Mae, and the way that the government does loans and mortgages and the interest rates that come out from the Federal Reserve and all of this and all of that. Why are things like this? Why do they want you to be in despair? Because the people at the top of the pyramid know that if you are in absolute despair, you have no reason to hope for a better future, and that they can basically move you willy-nilly however they want, like it's by your nose. Like, this is what's going on, and what is the experience of a large portion of the American citizens nowadays. And that doesn't even go into talk about what the issue is with AI or the issue with illegal aliens, right? And they'll say, oh, well, it's not illegal aliens, it's migrants, Marcus. No, it's not. It's illegal aliens. They're not migrants. Migration is internally inside a country that you already reside in, that you are a citizen of. They're not from this country. Don't you dare call them migrants. That is a lie. That is a falsehood. And that is a misuse of language. And I really would appreciate if people stop using language to lie to people. It's like when they say that, oh, we got to fight for democracy, or, oh, America's a democracy. We're not a democracy. We're a constitutional republic. Or if you prefer, we're a representative constitutional republic. That's how our country has been founded. Benjamin Franklin's famous quote was, you know, they said when he came out of the signing, they said, well, what type of government do we have? And they said, was it going to be like an empire? Is there going to be a king? Is there going to be a queen? What is it going to be? What is our type of government going to be? And he said it'll be a republic as long as you can keep it, or if you can keep it. It's a republic if you can keep it. That's the quote. And they've been since that time, really, I'd say probably since, what do you figure, maybe the 50s, 60s, probably late 60s. They've been trying to brainwash everybody in this country to thinking that we are a democracy, because they use democracy in every word. Now, me as a conservative, I see people that are called themselves conservative or Republican, and they use that term all the time. Democracy, democracy, democracy. What are you doing? You are doing a disservice to our country. You are doing a disservice to our people, and you should know better of all people. The Democrats, of course, they want people to think that it's a democracy because they want mob rule. Now, as a brief explanation between republic and between mob rule, well, I should say the type of republic that we have in mob rule and democracy, is that in democracy, you don't have individual freedoms and liberties. Those are crushed by the masses, and the will of the mass is what leads. And we all know that the will of the masses can easily be swayed. It's more difficult to sway one man than it is to sway the masses. We know that. Okay, there have been many studies that have proven that. Now, we have to understand that our representative republic has it where we elect representatives that are supposed to act in our best interest as individuals on individual levels. That's why they're there. So when you see that these laws are bad for you or something's going on and it's in relation to policy from whether it's local, city, state, federal government, wherever it's from, that's impacting you, and these people that are supposed to be your representatives are not serving you, you need to go find them. You need to go talk to them. Set up a meeting, set up an appointment, send them emails, call them on their phone. You need to be contacting these people, okay? Because people will tell you very quickly that nothing is to do with politics, or, oh, I don't want to talk about politics, when everything is to do with politics. Absolutely everything is to do with politics. And we need to remember that. That's something very, very drastically important. Now, back to my point about the lie of calling our country a democracy. They've continued to push this and push this and push this because it chips away at the concept that your representative is supposed to represent you. Not the masses of everybody, but they're supposed to protect your rights, right? They're supposed to protect your rights. They're supposed to protect your liberties. They're not supposed to infringe on your liberties. They're not supposed to infringe on your rights. But right now, we've got people on both sides, Democrat, Republican, and they're both encroaching upon your rights, encroaching upon your liberties, encroaching upon your freedoms. And it's no good. It's honestly, it's beyond me. And I know that many of you guys are frustrated about it too. It's really upsetting, and it's gotten a lot of people to feel massive amounts of despair. And that's a serious issue. It's so disgusting, it makes you want to spit. And it's a problem. It's a real serious issue. And frankly, myself, I'm tired of it. I'm tired of the fear porn. Okay, I am tired of the fear porn. There is fear porn on everything. You'll say, well, Marcus, what's fear porn? Anything that makes you scared. Anything that just is outside of the reasonability of normal stuff that's being shown to encourage you to be more scared, to be more afraid. And I'm not saying that there aren't real reasons to be scared, to be afraid. I'm not telling you that the stuff that they're spraying in the sky or the stuff that they're spraying on the food, it's not going to kill you. I'm not saying that at all. It probably will. It's very dangerous, and we really need to do something about that. But that's besides the point. The fact is that they are pumping us full of fear all the time, every day, so that you will be full of despair. Do not despair. Do not give up. There are bright patches and there are bright corners out there. There are lights. There are people out there shining their light. You know, like the song, "This Little Light of Mine, I'm gonna let it shine." You know, that just like that song says. You gotta let the light shine. And why do you let the light shine? You let the light shine so you can show people that the darkness is there. You know, and people will say, oh, you should let the light shine to show people the light. No, the light is to show people that the darkness is there. And once they recognize that the darkness is there, then maybe it'll encourage them to the light. And that's something that we really need to talk about. Like, I do my best to encourage you to make sure that I give you action steps and stuff to do so that you can help make the future better for all of us. The one thing that I want you to take away from every broadcast that I do is that if you want a better and a brighter future, it's going to be up to you. You have to take action, no matter what that action looks like. Maybe that action looks like supporting a local candidate. Maybe that action looks like you go join your local political committee so you can get more understanding of what's going on. Maybe it looks like you get involved with your school board or your town council or city council. Maybe it looks like you run for office. Maybe it looks like you support a candidate for office. Maybe you need to donate or volunteer for a candidate's candidacy that's running for office. And shameless plug, I'm running for state assembly right here in New York State. So I encourage you to go to my website, marcus4rochester.com. That's www.marcus, the number 4, that's the digit 4, rochester.com. Okay, and donate or volunteer. If you're local, or even if you're not local, you can still donate and you can still volunteer, because sometimes you just need certain things done, like postcards or phone calls, and you can do that even if you're not local. But everybody can donate no matter where they are. And now I'm talking specifically about my campaign, but are there other people that seem to have your same type of values where you are? Be very careful when you're when you're looking at people as far as candidates go versus what they say and what their policies actually are. Because a lot of people talk a good game, but the policies just aren't there, they don't exist. You know, the other day, I want to say, maybe it was yesterday, right? Maybe it was last night, or maybe it was Saturday, I don't know. Whenever Trump had his rally in Nevada, I didn't get a chance to watch it. I try to watch everything that Biden does and everything that Trump does so I can hear what these people that are two of the biggest figureheads as far as politics goes are saying. Excuse me. So I try to listen to that. I listened to Biden's D-Day speech on, I forget where it was, but over there in France. So I listen to all that stuff all the time because I want to know what's going on. I listen to both of their rallies because I want to know what these people, what they think and what they say and stuff like that. Trump brought up a very interesting thing the other day, and he said that he's going to make sure that they do not tax tips. I said, oh, okay. Maybe he's courting libertarians because libertarians are all about taxation is theft, taxation is theft. I'm very big about that. Taxation is theft, you guys. And we should not have to pay state income tax. That's on my platform for me running for office right now. We should not have to pay state income tax. If you earned your money, if you worked hard for your money, you should be able to keep your money. Okay, and that's not even me going into these ridiculous gas taxes or the crazy sales taxes or all these other property taxes and stuff. I also believe that if you're 65 or older, you shouldn't be paying taxes on your primary residency. So that's a whole nother separate thing. And we need to have these conversations. We really do. Because the government is overtaxing us. At the same time, we've got inflation going through the roof. So basically, you can't afford to eat, you can't afford to live, you can't even afford to really think. Because every time that you get a chance, a split second to think, or something you want to consume your time with video games or drinking or drugs, because you know all the drugs are legal all over the country now, especially marijuana, and in certain places, things like MDMA and what do you call it, psilocybin, the mushrooms and stuff like that. These things are because they want you to be doped up. They want you to be consumed by things that prevent you from being able to see what's actually going on. That's what they want. So you don't stand up against the taxation that's garbage. So you don't stand up to the misuse of your taxpayer funds. I had a conversation earlier online with somebody. We've got these ridiculous scooters here, these electric scooters. And basically, the city government has given them, what do you call those? Tax abatements. So they give them the tax abatements so they don't have to pay taxes. But the city has also put money into this program. I didn't ask them to put money into this program. I don't think they should be doing any of that. Plus, they also basically made it so that it was exclusive, that only certain companies could actually have those in our city. And that's illegal. Okay, that's illegal. You cannot do that. Okay? That's barring others from entry, okay? That's basically a non-compete agreement with a private company for private industry in our city. That's unacceptable. But that's neither here nor there. The conversation was had in regards to that, and somebody was like, oh, well, this is what it is, this is what it is. And I'm like, listen, I understand that you might have a different view of certain things because you've lived a different life experience, but don't discount my view because I've lived this life experience and I know what I'm talking about. Because essentially what we see right now is that many people will tell you that you don't know what you're talking about and you haven't experienced what you've experienced and it's not real. They won't ask you any questions to clarify what your experiences have been. They won't ask you for any input. They won't ask you what you think might be a better solution to it. They don't want to have any type of real discourse or actual conversation with you. They just want to deride you and tell you that you're wrong because everybody else knows so much. Everybody else is so great. And that's a serious issue that we have in our nation right now that we need to drastically move away from. But it goes back to that division and it goes back to that mindset of how we are a democracy right now, right? Because it's mob rule. Mob do whatever the mob wants to do. Okay? And if you're not with it, get out of the way because I'm going to steamroll over you. Now, that's not okay. That's not okay at all. So as we continue to talk about this stuff that's going on in our nation, I want you to remember two things. One, we're not a democracy. We are a constitutional representative republic, okay? And pray that we stay that way. Don't let these people use democracy. I don't care if they're Republican, or I don't care if they're a Democrat, I don't care if they're whatever. The second that somebody says that, you make sure that you correct them each and every single time and tell them, no, we are a republic, we are not a democracy. And they'll say, well, that's just a type of democracy. No, it's not. No, it's not. And no matter how many times you say the lie and repeat the lie, it doesn't make it true. It's still a lie. But people understand that the more that you repeat a lie, the more people start to receive that lie as truth. And that's what they've done for decades. They've been bashing it in your head that we are a democracy, and we're not. Never have been. Now, with that going into the rest of everything that's been going on, I want to take a couple moments and I want to start to jump in on what Biden said over there at the Normandy landing thing. It's crazy. This guy is our president, right? At least that's what they tell us. He's the president. He is the man in charge of the so-called free world. And they'll try to convince you in the media that he's as smart and as quick as a whip. But have you watched the TV? Like, you don't have to be, it doesn't matter what party you are. You can be many Democrats don't like Biden for various reasons. But all I'm asking you is just look at him, how he moves, and his mental acuity. He can barely hold a note. He can't carry a tune. He can barely walk anywhere himself. He's always got to have handlers. Okay? He's very clearly being abused as an elderly individual. This is elder abuse. His wife, all of the people around him, they're abusing this man. They should all go to jail for what's happening with this man. It's very clear he should not be in this position. And what they're doing to him is wrong. Not that I want Kamala Harris in there either, because she's a whole bunch of trash. I mean, when you talk about hot garbage, you might say, but Marcus, she's so great. She's a black woman. First of all, she's not black. She's Indian and Jamaican. Black means black American. We've talked about that on this show before. Black means black American. She ain't got no black American in her at all. And all she did when she was in California as the district attorney and the, the attorney general over there, all she did was put black men in jail. So I'm not trying to hear any of it. Break up black families. I'm not trying to hear none of that. Okay? So I don't really want her in there because can you tell me what Kamala Harris is about? Please, somebody tell me. Drop a comment if you're watching us online. What is Kamala Harris actually about? What does she believe in? What does she stand for? Do you even know? Like, I've listened to a lot of her speeches and stuff like that. I mean, this woman says so much of absolutely nothing. It's honestly mind-numbingly amazing. Like, it's tactful on a whole nother level. Like, she's amazing at speaking because I've never seen somebody speak so much and say so little. You know, it's like, you know, how they have on Wheel of Fortune, would you like to buy a vowel? I wonder would she like to buy another word, because she seems to use a lot of words repetitively, without actually having any value or any point tied to them. It's so disgusting, it makes you want to spit. But it's frustrating, right? And these are the leaders of our nation. So as we go on, I want to remind you, while we take this second to take a break, to remind you that you're listening to The Divide on WRFZ 106.3 FM, Rochester Free Radio, broadcasting right here in the city of Rochester, right outside of Cornhill. Well, inside of Cornhill. Inside, outside, inside. Technically, we're inside Cornhill, I suppose. Yes. So, but here's the deal. If you're watching us, please subscribe and like, and definitely share. Do that. And if you're listening to us on the radio, make sure you let other people know that they should be listening to us every Monday, 2:30 to 4 p.m. on WRFZ 106.3 Rochester Free Radio. This is The Divide with Marcus C. Williams. Keep listening and stay tuned, and make sure that if you would like to actually sponsor our show, reach out. You can find me on social media, Marcus C. Williams. You'll find me. I'm not difficult to find on social media, on all the platforms. Or you can email me at Marcus Williams 222 at outlook.com. That's Marcus Williams 222 at outlook.com. So let's go into it a little more. So Joe Biden went to Normandy. Man, oh man. Well, I think it was actually in Normandy. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's in France, somewhere over there. One of those battlefields that we had during D-Day. And that's not me being callous on the situation. It's just I just honestly don't know. I know that the battlefield right there, specifically the area that he was in, had a specific name for that little area that he was in. But I don't remember the name. Now, this guy, first off, as they're doing our national anthem, okay, he turns to go and turn over somewhere else. It's crazy. Like he just doesn't know where he's supposed to be looking or what he's supposed to be doing. Like he's completely vapid. So that vapid, empty. That's what I'm saying. That's the word. That's what I'm using that word for representational purposes. So this guy is the leader of the free world. And Macron, the president of France, is just sitting there looking like, what are we supposed to be looking over here? Are we supposed to be over here looking at what's going on? What's going on over there? You know, and it's crazy. And this is our president. And then they're saying, oh, the defense secretary, Lloyd Austin, is about to come out. And I kid you not, guys, please go look up the video. I couldn't make this up. It's so insane. I kid you not, it looked like the president pooped his pants. Like, you know how some people make jokes, oh, well, the president pooped his pants, da, 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 da. Maybe, sometimes, I don't know. But I tell you this right now, if you go watch that video, right when they try to say that Lloyd Austin is coming, he looks like he is taking a dump on the stage in his pants, like you would see somebody wearing a diaper, maybe. It's bad. This is a bad look, and you can like him, or you can love him, or you can hate him, or whatever the case is. That's regardless of the fact that that's how we look on the world stage. And many people might be thinking maybe America is decrepit. Maybe America is pooping its pants right now, because they don't seem to be handling anything really rather very well. You know, and that's frustrating to me as an American citizen, because I love my country. I'm a patriot, okay? I believe in our country very strongly. And I believe that everybody else that's an American citizen should too, okay? America, love it or leave it, is not just something that I say. I firmly believe it. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to love our government, because, don't get me started on our government. You already know. We've been talking about that most of the show so far. But our country, right, is a basis for us to have same national interests, because we're all from the same country if you're a citizen. We all are supposed to be loyal to our country and our country's interests, because this is where we live. This is our home. And on that, I'm going to drink some water, so I encourage you to drink water, stay hydrated. If you don't have if you don't have a water filter, you should probably go get one. Serious business. Don't drink the tap water. It's not good for you. Also, glass bottles are better than plastic bottles, except sometimes we got to go with what we got. The other day, and I'm going to come back to the Biden thing, I was watching that they had done a study. They're doing a report on a study that had been done that said that microplastics were found in the testicles of, I think it was 98% of men that were tested for it. That's insane. That's insane. We know that plastic has endocrine disruptors that mess with your hormones and encourage more estrogen and stuff like that. We also know that the water is so terrible and lousy with birth control pills and birth control methods and stuff like that, that all of that stuff is in our water and is causing serious issues with fertility in both men and women, and it is causing men to be more, what would you call it, feminine? You know, and this is a real thing. These are real things, you know. And Alex Jones, you know, everybody makes a joke about Alex Jones. If you don't know who Alex Jones is, that guy is a laugh riot. Not because he just sounds very animated and kind of crazy, but because he's right so much. So much, so much. He's right on so much. And by so much, I mean 80 to 90% of the things that I've ever heard him ever say, he's been 100% right on. One thing that he's famous for on the internet is, I don't want chemicals in the frogs and chemicals in the water turning the frogs gay. And and he said this years ago. This is like something he did like 10, 15 years ago, right? And it's true. It's true. There are chemicals in the water that are turning the frogs gay. And he was saying that, and he was referencing a study that actually showed that if amphibians are exposed to these birth control runoffs, that they're likely to become hermaphrodites or change their gender from being a tadpole when they become a frog. That's a serious issue. That is a very serious issue. But it goes to show you how our water systems and treatment plants and everything are being poisoned. And people will say, oh, well, that's terrible and that's the reason why we can't have a better future. No, absolutely not. That's exactly the reason why we must stand up and we must push back and we must fight for a better future, because we know that it's going on. We know that it's wrong. And that's why we must stand up and unite together and present a united front against this insanity that's going on in our nation, like the poisoning of our water supplies, which doesn't even go into the fact that the fluoride that they put in your water, that they've tried to convince people over years is good for your teeth, is absolutely horrible for your body. Not only does it cause bone cancer, we know that it's actually produced from industrial runoff and industrial waste. That fluoride that they put in your water is industrial waste. It was encouraged to be put in the water by, what's his name? Aaron Benes or Eric Benes? The guy that's like the modern father of marketing. Okay, he's a marketing genius. So these are the things that are happening that we know about. Like, we know that, but they'll still try to convince you that it's not. One time I saw a video where this guy was retiring out of office or whatever the case was. I can't remember whether he was retiring or whatever the case was, but something had happened and he got in a little trouble near the end of him getting ready to leave office. And he was working at like a town or something like that. And they were like, is there anything else that you've been doing while you've been here or whatever? He's like, yes. Over the last couple of years that I've been working here, I have been lowering the amount of fluoride in the water. Hashtag hero, right? Like, I laugh because it's funny and it's truthful and it's real. More power to that man. Okay? But the fact is that we know that these chemicals and stuff are being put in our water, and we're being told that everything is fine, and it's not. And it's not. And I go back to the thing with Alex Jones. Alex Jones is being run out of business because allegedly he said that the Sandy Hook people that allegedly got shot up at the school, allegedly he said that they were not real or something like that. And I don't know exactly what he said. I don't remember. I don't even remember Sandy Hook really. I know it happened. Okay. Well, I mean, I wasn't there. I don't know that it happened, but I saw on the news reports that there was a thing that happened and it was there and that was the thing. So he got in trouble for basically saying, I guess they were trying to say that he expressed doubt that the event happened, and maybe it was a false flag, and maybe none of it happened at all, and maybe the people never actually died and stuff like that. So they tried to sue him for $1 billion, and they got a judgment against him for $1 billion. That man didn't have $1 billion. Out of town. So they've been working avidly to try to strip him away. Now, like I said, he'd been sharing a lot of truthful information over the years, and I didn't watch his show, but he used to have what was the show called? What's the show called? InfoWars, right? And I think he used to have a website, Prison Planet. Was that him? It might have been him. Okay. I don't know if that website is still a thing or whatever the case is. But anyway, so he would tell truth. And people would be like, oh, he's a psyop, oh, he's working for the CIA or whatever. Now, you and me, I don't know if you believe in demons and evil stuff like that, okay, because there are demons, and this is largely what we are fighting, is a battle against evil spirits, okay? That's largely what this is. These evil spirits are maneuvering everything on this earth for the purposes of evil. And if you see the evil, you got to stand up and you got to speak against the evil. Okay? Now, the concept behind demons, and I don't know if this is true or not, but I've heard it enough times, and there's been enough stuff that's happened for me to start to question if it's true. The concept there is that the demons have to tell you what they're doing before they do it. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but Jiminy Jillikers, how many times have we seen something in a movie, or how many times have we seen something in a TV show, or how many times have we seen stuff come out and we're like, wow, we saw that in a movie. That's just what happened on that TV show. And we're talking about maybe even many times years later. The Simpsons are good for that type of stuff. You know, they say, oh, the Simpsons predicts the future. Well, maybe they're just telling us because they're supposed to tell us. Now, I don't know how that whole thing works, but that's what I've heard, and it seems possibly about right, you know? So it really starts to make you wonder. So people would say that, oh, he's working for the CIA, oh, he's a psyop or whatever. Maybe he is. Maybe he's not. Maybe he's being fed the information from the CIA because they know that the information has to be shared before they can pull off the stuff. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's like how if you're going to sell a house, or not a house, if you're going to sell a property or whatever, or you're going to do a new program for the county where there's money and stuff like that, you have to publish it in such and such a place, or whatever the case is. Maybe it's something like that. I don't know the brass tacks of it. But he would share a lot of good information. Now they're trying to silence him because he's looking like he's supporting Trump and stuff like that. And they know that he has a very influential voice. And people know who he is, even if you may not. Now, I say that because I'm going to go back to Biden, and then I'm going to come back to this crazy thing with them shutting down Alex Jones and stuff like that, whether you love him or hate him. So, back in France, okay, when Joe Biden pooped his pants, you know, one of the saddest things there is during his speech, he completely disrespected one of our allies during World War II. Okay? Now, I don't know how much you know about warfare and the history of war and stuff like that. I love it. I love all of that. I love war history. I love that type of stuff. That's very interesting to me. Okay? Ancient war history, present war history, okay? All of that. That's all of that. All of it. Okay? So, he completely went awry talking about, oh, Russia and Ukraine, this, that, and the third, da-da-da-da-da-da. Okay. And he's trying to talk about how we need to support Ukraine against Russia and this, that, and the third. Let me tell you this. The commemoration of D-Day was for the memorial of World War II, okay? Where it was the Allies against the Nazis, okay? I'd like to point out who was an ally during that time. Do you want to know who? Russia. Russia was our ally. We have never been at war with Russia, officially anyway. Cold War is a different conversation, but that's a whole separate conversation, and I'd love to go over it sometime with you all. But we've never officially been at war with Russia. You know, Cuban Missile Crisis, Cold War, whatever. But during World War II, they were our friends. They were our allies. I wouldn't necessarily say friends, but they were definitely our allies. Okay? They lost more people than were killed in the whole war together, pretty much. And that includes the what do you call it? The Holocaust. Okay? All of that. The Russians lost way more people than everyone. Everyone else fighting. The Russians lost way more people. They don't even know how many tens of millions of people Russia lost. They just project. And when you look at it, if you look at it on a chart, it's just so massive, the amount of Russians' lives that were lost during that period. But to disrespect them like that during the time when we're supposed to be honoring the dead, that's way wrong. You don't have to like Russia, that's fine. You might have held over feelings from the Cold War, that's fine. Okay? But to not recognize the lives that were sacrificed in World War II to help us win the war, which we benefited from as the nation of America, is mad disrespectful to all of those people who died during that, believing that we were allies and we were friends. I use the term friends loosely, but allies. They died. Those men died. And that's a complete and utter disrespect. And about Ukraine, Ukraine was on the side of the Nazis in World War II. Are we going to forget that? Like, we can never talk about how Ukraine is a bunch of Nazis. Okay, maybe not all of them. Okay, but they have a very large contingent that are very pro-Nazi over there, especially in the east, in the west, Western Ukraine. Okay? And that's how the whole thing in the eastern Ukraine started. That's how this war kicked off, because they were ethnically cleansing the Russians over in Ukraine. But nobody wants to talk about that, but we can't talk about that. And speaking of Ukraine and people over in that side of the world, Lindsey Graham got on the news the other day, and Lindsey, oh my goodness, I'm not able to stand this dude, bro. Like, Lindsey Graham got on the TV. Can I play that? If I play that, can you hear it? I don't know if I played that, if you can hear it. I got to figure out a way to connect to the sound system next week so you guys can actually hear something if I play it, because it's just absolutely insane. I don't know if this will be any feedback or anything, but I'm just not able to do it justice what he said. So I want to try to let you hear what he said in his own words. Let's see if this works, people.
They're sitting on 10 what did Trump do to get the weapons flowing? He created a loan system. They're sitting on $10 to $12 trillion of critical minerals in Ukraine. They could be the richest country in all of Europe. I don't want to give that money and those assets to Putin to share with China. If we help Ukraine now, they can become the best business partner we ever dreamed of. That $10 to $12 trillion of critical mineral assets could be used by Ukraine and the West, not given to Putin and China. This is a very big deal how Ukraine ends. Let's help them win a war we can't afford to lose. Let's find a solution to this war. But they're sitting on a gold mine to give Putin $10 or $12 trillion of critical minerals that he will share with China. It's ridiculous. What did Trump do to get the weapons?
I don't know if you heard any of that. I hope you heard it. Okay. But essentially what happened is Lindsey Graham is saying that Ukraine is mineral rich, and that's why we should support the war over there, because when the war is over, we'll get all of those minerals. And Russia won't get any of those minerals. There's a much larger conversation there that I want to have at another time. Okay? But this man just said the quiet part out loud. Now, I want to paint you a picture of what's going on in Ukraine. And I talked about this very, very briefly last week. So, all the men are being killed in war. They're conscripting younger and younger men now. Okay? When the Ukraine war started, what happened was they would block off the roads, and if you were a man and you refused to be forcefully conscripted, they would execute you right there on the side of the road. And that's at the point where they pushed all of the news media out of Ukraine, if you guys remember that. You probably don't remember that because you're like, wow, I don't remember that, because they moved the news media out of Ukraine so fast after that. That's when they were talking about, oh, there are so many checkpoints here and they're not letting any mails through or whatever. And they shut that down quick because they didn't want any voices telling you what's going on. That's the whole reason why Zelensky stopped the elections in Ukraine, so there wouldn't be any new elections, which were supposed to be a couple months ago and even last year. But he said, we're not going to do that anymore. We're fighting a war, so we can't have that. I got lots of words and I had lots of thoughts all at one time. I'm about to say some words that didn't belong on the radio. Okay? Now, could you imagine if they did that in America, if Biden and them kicked off this war with Russia or whatever the case is, China, whoever, because it could be whoever at this point, Iran, whoever, okay? They're like, oh, we got to stop the elections because we're having a war. Are you serious, bro? Are you serious? That's not a republic, and that's definitely not a democracy like everybody likes to call it a democracy. But that's not, like, woo. That's totalitarian, right? That's authoritarian, right? That's what we accuse all of these countries of being And he's doing that. He shut down all of the other radio stations and broadcast stations that weren't controlled by the administration of the country. If it wasn't state-run media, he shut it all down. They were out there arresting priests that would dare to speak up against them. They were burning down churches. Still are doing that. Like, we can't talk about any of that. Nobody will have time for that conversation. There was this lovely lady who was talking about they're doing a fundraiser for Ukraine to send medical packages and stuff over to the people in Ukraine. You mean all them billions of dollars we done sent over to Ukraine, they need to raise some money for medicine and stuff? Are you serious? That very clearly should show everybody in America that they are not rightfully spending the money. When you see Zelensky out here and his wife on lavish vacations and lavish trips, buying tens of thousands of dollars of jewelry every day and all types of crazy cars and these, it's just insane. It's just insane. It should show you what's really going on. It's complete corruption over there. Complete corruption. The majority of the generals and everything over there have been replaced in Ukraine because they don't want to be at war. They don't want to keep going. Their men are dying. Their men are dying. And it's terrible. So many men have died in Ukraine. Lord rest their souls. For what? For special interests. And Lindsey Graham made it very clear right there. We're over there not to help Ukrainians. We don't care about them. That's what they're saying. They're saying that they only care about the minerals and stuff that are over there, which doesn't even talk about how, which doesn't even, don't, you gotta forgive me, there's some guy on the roof next door to us. I don't know what he's got going on. That's weird. Anyway, so with Ukraine, they've also got a whole bunch of stuff going on with their grain land, right? Like, they're one of the biggest producers of grain and stuff over there in that part of the world, really. All of Europe. They're the largest. They're like what we would consider the what do you call it? The Fertile Crescent. Ukraine's basically the Fertile Crescent of Europe. They got so much arable farmland that they can plant in and stuff like that. It's so rich with nutrients and minerals and stuff like that. China actually had a lot of that land before the war happened. So that's a whole separate conversation. I think we might have talked about that in some of the earlier shows. But it's crazy because Lindsey Graham came out and told you what Biden wouldn't, told you what the rest of the people that are so allegedly in favor of Ukraine wouldn't, that it's not about Ukrainians, it's not about protecting democracy, it's not about Europe, it's all about the resources, because the resources are going to go to these major corporations and stuff like that. It's not like it's going to come to you. It's not like it's going to lower the cost of goods for you. It's not like you're going to benefit at all. And he's like, oh, well, all this money that we gave them, our loans, bull jive, you lying. Don't lie to the American people. And then when is that money ever going to be paid back? As the debt continues to creep up more and more and more and more. Who you playing? Whose face you playing in, Lindsey? Stop. We can't be having that. It's unacceptable. It's absolutely unacceptable. And people need to start standing up and they need to start speaking up. But Biden is out there. We've got to send more money to Ukraine. And all these other people too. I don't care. Democrat, Republican, makes me know, never mind. We shouldn't be putting another dime overseas anywhere. And I'm talking Ukraine, I'm talking Gaza, I'm talking Israel, I'm talking, I don't care, Tripoli. Okay, that's in Libya. Is Tripoli in Libya? Yeah, Tripoli's in Libya. Libya, what's the other people? Anywhere else over there, okay? Anywhere else. I don't care. We shouldn't be putting any money anywhere in the world. Unless you're going to become a state of the United States of America, you should not get another penny from us, anybody. And that includes the USAID too, okay? Shoot, all the money we spend when we need the money over here. People are struggling, okay? For real, for real. But we can't talk about that. I don't know why. We should be able to talk about that. It should be valid, and you shouldn't be able to get shut down for trying to talk about what's really going on in the world. And as far as things really going on in the world and people trying to put you into despair and stuff like that, we've got a new one. We've got this crazy bird flu. And I think I mentioned in the last episode. Jiminy Cracker Krispies, right? So some guy allegedly died with bird flu now. Now it's not he died from it, it's he died with it. He had other things that he was in the hospital for already, like 10 other, what do you call it? I don't know. It's another word. I'm not able to think of it. Other circumstances that he was in the hospital for at the time, and he was already half foot in the casket already. And then they're going to say, oh, they used a PCR test to say that he died with the bird flu. Doesn't that sound familiar? Isn't that what happened during COVID? They said that these people were dying from COVID when really it wasn't from COVID. They just happened to allegedly have COVID when they had died. And there have been multiple lawsuits that have been done for that. I know people, I physically know people, okay, that have had to fight to get them to change the cause of death on birth certificates because they'll tell you that it's from COVID, but it's from something completely different, okay? One person died in a car accident. Talking about died from COVID. No, died from a car accident, you sound crazy. It's with, right? Because they try to make it like it's from, but it's not from, it's with. So they play these word games, which I was talking about, like how they try to make you think it's a democracy when really it's a republic. So they play the word games with and from, so that you don't know and you can't figure it out. And then you try to tell somebody to explain to them what's going on, and they don't want to hear it. They don't want to listen to you because they've heard it so many times that they believe that it's true, and it's become true to them, even though it's not true and it's definitely not accurate. They're about to play this same game with us. And now they're talking about, if you watch the nightly news, NBC? I believe it's NBC that does the nightly news. Okay. If you watch the nightly news, they had that on there. They were talking about it. And the guy was like, yeah, it's not very contagious and it's not likely to kill anybody, but they're working on the vaccines for it right now and everybody should get one. What? Are you serious? If it's not very deadly and it's not likely for people to get it, why on earth would you be doing that? Here we go again with this mischief. And I'm being generous because I got a lot of words for it. They're very colorful and they're probably not radio, what is it? FAA, FCA, CCA, FCC, that's the people. FCC clear. Okay, I got a lot of words for them. Okay, here comes this nonsense. Just the other day, magically, because we're going to get around to why this is important. Magically, 18,000 cows were killed in an explosion. 18,000 cows just dead from a magical explosion, right? Before that, we had one of the, I think it was the second or third largest chicken farm, free-range chicken farm in the country, just caught on fire and burned to the ground. Magic. It's just happening, just matter-of-factly, as they push for this bird flu stuff. You know, and they're saying that the bird flu is jumping from the birds to the cows and now to people. Stop playing in my face. Okay, this is about the meat and about the eggs and about the milk, so that they can make the milk and the eggs and the meat prices go up and up and up to make it less affordable for you. I need you guys to wake up. I need you guys to pay attention. I need you guys to stand up, and I need you guys to demand better from our elected officials because they are playing in our face. Do not let them push this stuff through that is going on. They've already pushed some garbage in Michigan, and now I'm hearing they're pushing garbage in Idaho too, okay? About what they have to do with the cattle and the markings of the cattle and stuff like that. I heard they try to pull that junk in Texas, but Texas said no, they're not playing them games. Now, I don't know how far it's going to go or if it comes back, but we'll see. Now, also in Idaho, while we're talking about food prices that are impending and the increasing cost of food costs, everybody knows Idaho for potatoes, right? That's where the potatoes come from. Idaho, nobody knows anything else about the Idaho except maybe the butts, right? Or what do you call them, buttes? The buttes? Like, that's about it. If you don't know what a butte is, go look it up. I don't even really know how to explain that type of a rock structure to you. But anyway, some people say they're fossilized trees. That's a separate conversation for another day. But everybody knows that potatoes come from Idaho. So now they just made it so that over, I think it's 4,600 different farmers and ranchers will no longer be able to irrigate their crops because of these new water restrictions or whatever that they're doing over there. Now, I'm not fully in on as far as how the actual legislation goes, but I saw a lot of farmers. I follow a lot of farmers. I like food, y'all. I need to eat. Okay, I need food. I need my food not to cost $1 billion because again, I like to eat. I like food. You like to eat. You like food. As my pastor says, he likes to say this all the time. He says, I like food, and after eating for so many years, I've gotten pretty good at it. Well, me too. Me too. And I like to eat. So I want my food not to be created in a lab somewhere. I don't want to eat crickets. Okay, I do not want to eat cicadas. Now they got these things with all these cicadas are out. They're like, oh, you should cook the cicadas. But didn't you just tell me that the cicadas have this disease that turned them into horny zombies that spread the disease all over? And that's a real thing, you guys. They've got this disease that turns the cicadas into zombie like mass orgies with them to spread. It's like a sexually transmitted fungus that they get that controls their brain and forces them to continuously mate, and it basically runs their whole nervous system until the insect is completely decayed. It's absolutely insane. I know somebody out there right now is working to weaponize that nonsense, and I'm mad already. I'm preemptively mad at them for doing it because I know they're doing it. How do I know they're doing it? Because earlier this year, and we talked about this before, okay, I hope you can still find the documents online. Okay, earlier this year there were articles published that we were in America. We were studying. Matter of fact, I got another thing about that. We were studying the bird flu and how to make it more transmissible. Okay, then a couple weeks ago, now last week, it seems that this new strain of bird flu that's all over the place, allegedly doing all this crazy damage, might have leaked from one of the labs in Georgia. Who's in Georgia? The CDC is in Georgia. I wonder, did the CDC have anything to do with it? I don't know that they did. I'm just saying I think that that's a very interesting thing. So this is real. Like, this is real. Like, I'm not able to make this up. Like, I'm not able to, like, the truth is stranger than fiction. And we have to be very, very concerned at what they're trying to push, talking about this misinformation and disinformation and, oh, that's not true, or, oh, they'll parse stuff and say, oh, well, part of a piece of that doesn't even really have any efficacy to, or not efficacy, what do I want to say? That doesn't even really have anything really to do with the greater whole of the matter. That is wrong. So the whole thing has to be hidden, and you can't read it. I'll give you a great example. Like, people put up all these posts and stuff like that used to deal with COVID or whatever the case is, and they would ban you for that or whatever, right? Or they'll tell you that, oh, you can't do that or whatever the case is, da-da-da-da. I put up a post, and I don't know if I mentioned this last week, but I put up a post. It was a joke, right? The post was a joke. It's like one of those signs that you see outside of a church, and the sign said, what did it say? It said, adultery is bad. You can't have your cake and eateth too. Wow, that's funny, but it's also true. But what Facebook took an issue with it saying was, it said on the top of the sign, it was like Crystal Lake Methodist Church of something Oregon or whatever. And Facebook was like, we've taken down your post because it's been flagged by fact checkers because there is no town called that in Oregon. What? Who cares about the town? The whole thing is a joke. It's very clearly a joke. Like, who cares? Like, what are you doing? Why would you do that? So we need to be on brass tacks to really be paying attention on how they're starting to censor people. And that censorship stuff goes back to what I was talking about with Alex Jones. Okay, because we're coming up on an election, and it seems every single year during an election, they start to censor people, especially people that tend to be more conservative or tend to be more Republican. It's a very serious issue that we have in our country. Now, RFK Jr. got some of that treatment, so if you like him, he got some of that treatment too. Okay, they were censoring him and stuff that he was saying and doing and stuff like that. So they'll do it to everybody except their chosen favorites. Again, because it's elites at the top of the pyramid that are really manipulating everything for their own best interest, which is not your interest. As George Carlin used to like to say, it was a great comedian. I encourage you to listen to all his stuff. It's great. There's some profanity in it, so if you can't deal with profanity, listen to it anyway, okay? Because he's not like he's Red Fox or, what's his name, Richard Pryor or somebody, even though those two are great comedians too, but they curse up a storm. Anyway, but they were censoring RFK too, and as George Carlin used to say, they're all part of one big club and you ain't in it. You understand? So what we've just seen, and I'm coming back to that point, what we've just seen with Trump and his case and everything, I know people hate Trump or people love Trump or whatever the case is, Trump madness, all this, it's insane. But the fact of the matter is that the way that the case was handled that he just had, okay, and I'm not going to go into the details of the cases because I know you guys probably know somewhat kind of about it, that the case was a case that was manipulated that should have been a misdemeanor. If it should have been a case at all, it shouldn't have been a case at all, but that's aside the fact. And nobody else would take it. The federal government wouldn't take the case. Even Alvin Bragg wouldn't take the case before, okay? So they tried to manipulate and cunningly maneuver this so that they can basically make him out to be something that he's not, regardless of if you even know what the crime is. And they're like, oh, he's guilty on 34 counts and nobody can tell you what the counts are or what any of them mean. And the judge is like, oh, well, people, you don't have to see that he's guilty on any of the charges. As long as it's one of the charges, he's guilty on all charges. That's not how our justice system is supposed to work. What type of advice is that from the judge? Then we see just the other day, Judge whatever his name is. Okay, you know the guy, the weird looking guy that's actually very buff. Okay, he's a buff judge. Okay, he might be some old guy, but he buff, he work out. Okay, anyway, that guy, that judge, okay, he put out like a I don't know, a letter, right? Like a letter of notice that somebody had posted on the court's website that they know that their cousin is one of the jurors and they know that he's going to be guilty. Thank you so much for doing your job and all of this. They were celebrating. Now, so there might be some malfeasance going on there very clearly where there's other communications going on about the case where they should not be. So it's very likely that this might become a mistrial. If it doesn't become a mistrial because of that, there are serious things way worse with our criminal justice system than anybody can think on any side. And it's something we really need to talk about because they're using this against other people. As I've told you before, Dexter Taylor, okay, look up his case. It happened in Brooklyn. They didn't put this man in jail for 15 years over some nonsense, okay? The court system is jacked up. And if they don't like you, if you're trying to express one of your rights, especially if it's a right in the Bill of Rights and the Constitution of our republic, they'll try to shut you down and they'll tell you that you can't even bring up the Constitution or any of the bills in the Bill of Rights during your case. It's insane what's going on right now. It's absolutely abhorrent. But I take that back to go to the silencing part and how the judicial system is all jacked up, right? So let's go back and jump back forward to the silencing part. Now they're going to put Steve Bannon in jail, right? So now Steve Bannon is going to go to jail. It's funny that they just basically shut down Alex Jones completely, bankrupted him. Now they shut down his show. His show is done, apparently. So his show is done. He's got no more show. That's all gone. Now they're trying to shut down another very large voice, which is Steve Bannon. Now, I don't know if you know about Steve Bannon or not, but it's very, 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 very serious when it comes to the few voices that are conservative voices that are still out there, right? We don't have very many. We don't have very many speaking up. We don't have very many that have a wide reach. Steve Bannon is yet another one of those people. So they try to put him in jail. So now they try to silence his voice. Amazingly, his court case would have him in jail just up to the election. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? Does that sound like something may be going on just a little bit? I need you guys to be more discerning. This sounds and smells very terribly horrible. We know they're trying to put Trump in prison. Okay, like him, love him, hate him, don't matter. We know that they're trying to put that man in prison, and many people might want him to be in prison. But that's neither here nor there. What's going on is very, very, very much so clear, part of a much larger disenfranchisement thing that they're running against conservatives and Republicans. It's so disgusting, it makes you want to spit. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. And, you know, we see the injustices, right? So, as a black man, it's not like we haven't seen the continued injustices in the judicial system, and we've talked about that. Now that Trump's in trouble, now a lot of more of the Republicans are starting to wake up and say, oh, there's something wrong with the judicial system. And we as black people, especially black conservatives and black Republicans, have been like, we've been telling you this. Where have you been? You know, and that's something that we really need to start to understand and get around. There's a lot of stuff that's going on that we need to actually be talking about that's not being talked about. So as we move down this path together, as we start to see where we can see positive action in the future, all of these things are very disheartening, right? But we can't let it get us down. What do they say? Don't let the man get you down. Because that's what all of this is for. They're trying to scare us. They're trying to push us into submission. They're trying to subvert us at every single corner that they can. And people say, oh, well, it's just the Republicans or it's just the conservatives, so it won't affect me. I'm going to drink some water on that one. So it won't affect me. Drink water, say hi, man. But it will. It will. Y'all will be the first people to go. When they are finished with you, especially the leftists and these crazy people that are out there supporting all this wackadoodle nonsense, no offense, but exactly as I said what I meant. Okay, you guys know who you are. If you felt some type of way, it's probably you. If you didn't feel some type of way, it might not be you. Okay? But all of these people that are out there supporting all this craziness, it's very possible and it's very likely that they're going to get you first. That's always what happens. That's what happened in Nazi Germany. That's what happened in the Khmer Rouge. Okay, that's what happened in all of those other countries over there. That's what happened in China. They're gonna come for you. Like, you're gonna get gone because you're gonna be useless to them. You're not gonna be worthwhile to them anymore. You're gonna have outlived your use. They are pumping in all these illegal aliens because they are your replacements. Come on, wake up. Not only are they your replacements, those are essentially your jailers. Those are the people who are going to keep you down. Those are the people who are going to be the ones that basically are going to be used as a military force against the American people when some stuff does pop off. That's why they're bringing them here. And we really need to understand and we really need to pay attention to that. Now, if you are in the area of Rochester, I just want to give you this notice about this evening. If you are listening to this tonight and you are listening live or something like that, there's a meeting, community crime forum at 5:30 at Phyllis Wheatley Library at 33 Dr. Samuel McCree Way. That's a crime forum today at 5:30 at Phyllis Wheatley Library at 33 Dr. Samuel McCree Way. That's the library right there on the corner, right by Cornhill. But these are important conversations that we need to have. We really do. And we have to pay attention to the policy that's coming out that's being driven behind these things. Scared of the climate? Let's stop everybody from having any type of mobility. They can't drive. They shouldn't be able to drive. Man, let me tell you. They got this congestion pricing going on in New York City, and Kathy Hochul just said, oh, well, we're going to pause it. They're going to bring it back after the election cycle. Watch, okay? Because it's all about limiting your ability to be mobile. It's all about denial of entry. That's what all of this stuff is. That's what this traffic calming stuff is. That's what them adding all these bike lanes for and stuff are. It's to limit your mobility and access with vehicles. It sounds good and stuff like that, but really behind it is very devious intentions. Okay, all is not as it appears. Okay, so it's really something that we need to be attentive on. Now, I say that to you and I lay it out flat for you. Because if we're not having these conversations and understanding what's really, really going on, it's going to get worse. So with these congestion pricing, what it really is, it's not congestion pricing, and I can encourage you to go look this up. It's ultra low emission zones, ULUTs, okay? ULEZ. Go look it up. It's in England right now, and people are very upset about it. It's a whole big thing because it's denying entry to these areas without you having to pay extra money, even if you are working there or if you are traveling there, you have to pay them extra, okay, just to be there. But it's funny because these things are only happening in the wealthy, affluent neighborhoods. It's to keep you out of the wealthy, affluent neighborhoods. They don't want no normals over there. Ew, normals. Ew, plebeians. Ew. You know? They don't want you there. Ew, the poors. You know? Don't let them buy me. Ew. You know, this is what you have to understand is going on right now. It's a crime against the people, and people need to wake up. So I saw these people out there protesting in Albany and in New York City. We need that so we can fix mass transit. What? What do you mean? Maybe you should send all the illegal aliens back, and then you can spend those millions of dollars on fixing the MTA. Now, did they actually want to fix the MTA? They don't want to fix the MTA. If they wanted to fix the MTA would have been fixed decades ago. The MTA would have been fixed before I was born. They spend millions and billions of dollars on the MTA. They don't want to fix it. Get right. Understand what's going on. If they want it to be fixed, it would be fixed. It's not because they don't want it to be fixed. Come on now. How long did it take them to add that extra tunnel on? The one that they were building in Die Hard, what was it? The second Die Hard? Or is that the first Die Hard? Second Die Hard. In Die Hard 2, the one with Samuel L. Jackson? Or was that Die Hard 3? I think that was Die Hard 2. Doesn't matter. How long did it take them to build that tunnel? When did that movie come out? Hey Siri, when did the movie with Samuel L. Jackson and Bruce Willis come out? It gave me the complete wrong movie. I forgot they were in another movie together that was called Unbreakable. I forgot about that. But that was in 2000. So that was way before then. I don't know. I feel like it was in maybe 90 something. Doesn't matter. Regardless, took them too long to make that tunnel. They still been making adjustments. They still got the same stuff that's all jacked up. Then they decided to tear down things like Penn Station and all this other stuff and rebuild them for no reason. And they tell you, I can remember when Kathy Hochul was in New York City last year talking about, oh, we're rebuilding this station, some nonsense, some nonsense. Wasn't nothing wrong with the old station. Wasn't nothing wrong with the old station. And all the tunnels are still flooding. What are you doing? What are you really doing? It's crazy. We need to fix the MTA. Them people are paid shills, okay? Because nobody outside of the very wealthy would benefit from that. Who are you? Why do you think that's a good idea? Are you retarded? Like, what's wrong with you? Like, something's got to be wrong with you to actually think that that's a good idea. Yeah, let's toll people to travel inside their own city that they already live in because we don't want them in this neighborhood. Who does that benefit? Only the wealthy, only the rich. And these same people that are out here complaining about that are supposed to be the same people that are out here complaining about how much they care about the people in the working class and those in poverty. Come on, man, don't play in my face. It's sickening. Man, it's really, really frustrating. But it goes to show you how the government plays in your face. Kathy Hochul, the governor, the high priestess of New York, playing in our face, okay? Come on now. Stop letting these people play in your face. This is very serious. This is our lives that we were talking about. And that's why we have to be encouraged. Be encouraged even in the face of this great evil, of this great demonicness that's going on in this world that is working its way to fight against us, the good people of our nation. We must stand, especially if you are Christian, especially if you're Christian. It's time to stand up. And I encourage you, if you're not Christian and you're listening to this broadcast, check out the New Testament. If you feel empty on the inside, if you feel like you're depressed all the time, if you feel like you just don't have anyone to communicate with and nobody understands you or anything, I encourage you, seek the teachings of Jesus in the New Testament of the Bible, because when you are filled with the Holy Spirit, those feelings go away and they get very much smaller and smaller and smaller. That emptiness that you feel inside, that's a lack of the presence of the Lord living inside of you. That is your heart, that is your spirit telling you that you need that relationship with the Lord and the Word. So I encourage you, get a Bible, read the New Testament, okay? The answers are in there. You'll feel it, okay? If you have an open mind and an open heart, you will be able to feel what's in the Word, in the Scripture. and may you hopefully come to the Lord, our Father, and may you proclaim Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, because he died for us all, and he rose again, defeating death. He was the perfect sacrifice for us to forgive us for our sins, so that we may have everlasting eternal life with our Father in heaven after our death and are not condemned to hell. So, with that being said, I just want to encourage you guys. I want to encourage you guys to fight forward, keep fighting, get more active, get more active. If I can tell you one thing, get more active. That's what you need to do. Get more active. Encourage your friends to get active. Whatever that activity is, whether it's engaging with your local elected officials, whether it's going to participate on city or town council or school board or whatever the case is, or whether it's joining your local committee, or whether it's running for office, or whether it's helping somebody's campaign, make sure that you are getting active and getting involved. There is no time like the present. This is all hands on deck. Everybody needs to get active at some capacity right now, because I can't promise you that there's going to be a lot of fight left after this election session. If we don't take a lot of these local seats in our local areas, like everybody's so distracted by the presidential thing, if we don't take a lot of these seats in these local areas, then we're going to lose a lot of freedoms and liberties, and they're going to put more restraints and more regulations in and stuff like that. And one thought that I want to leave you with before we go today is that over the weekend, there were a lot of elections in Europe for European Parliament, and in places like France and Germany and the Netherlands and some other places. And more traditional minded individuals took a lot of the seats over there because they're seeing that the direction that we're going isn't right. Things like open borders and all of this crazy social policy that's really socialism and communism, it's not working. It's harming our countries. They've seen it over there, and they've taken a lot of the elections. So it's put the fear of God into a lot of these leftists and the people that are in control in the Democrat Party over here. So they're manipulating things as much as possible so that they can manipulate things so that they can come out victorious. You guys, we got to stay alert, we got to stay active, we got to stay vigilant, and we have to get active. Go knock doors for candidates, go make phone calls for candidates, donate to candidates. That's what you need to do. Get active, go help out a candidate. You can even help out my candidacy if you go to www.marcus4rochester.com. That's marcus4rochester.com. www.marcus, the number 4, that's the digit 4, rochester.com. Okay? And if you like our show and you're watching us on YouTube or Rumble, make sure that you like, subscribe, share, Facebook, Twitter, X, wherever you are, share it there. Wherever you're watching us, share it there and share it other places. Okay? If you'd like to advertise on our show, please email me, marcuswilliams222@outlook.com, and we'll talk there, or you can find me on social media. I'm not hard to find on social media, and get in touch with me so you can sponsor the show so more people will be able to hear what's going on, and we can get the word out, and we can encourage more people to be active, productive members of this republic that we have so that we can fight for a better future for everyone. And with that, I'll leave you guys. So I want to remind you, be blessed, be well, and remember, stand up, speak up, and don't shut up. Take action. I'll catch you later.